Hi, everyone. It's Jessica here from Martin Management. I'm excited to have with me today Leanna from Elevate Billing, and she is going to tell us what they do with dental billing. It's pretty amazing. And then we'll also kind of dive into maybe some ways that dentists are cutting themselves short, or maybe mistakes that they're making in dental billing procedures as well. So thank you for joining me, Leanna.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share a little bit more about Elevate and what we're doing with our practices around the country.
Yeah, let's just dive in. Tell us exactly what Elevate's all about and how you help dentists.
Yeah, so really the whole premise of Elevate and why we got started is to help support front office staff and dentists to become more profitable and more efficient internally in their practice. I like to compare the example of large DSOs have found the opportunity to outsource their administration. So usually they'll have a offsite building where all of their administrative and billing staff work out of. But for smaller practices who are trying to keep up and stay relevant and really compete in the space, they are not necessarily able to feasibly afford that option. And so by using an outsourced company like Elevate Billing Solutions, they're able to outsource these functions, maintain the overhead costs that can a lot of times rise up in the dental space in their practice, while making sure that their front office staff really is equipped with the knowledge that they need to make sure that they are being fully reimbursed for the services they're providing, while making sure that their patients are receiving the experience they deserve as well, because billing and all of the administrative tasks that come along with it take the front office staff member away from the direct care and attention of the patient. When you're calling an insurance company or have your face in a computer, it's really hard to give that patient the attention they deserve, or if a patient calls in, you might miss that call, and that's a missed opportunity for doctor. So by removing some of those items from the office, it just opens up the space for more growth, more profitability for the practice. And then additionally, our goal is to really make sure that everything that the provider is doing as far as services go are being fully reimbursed. So we don't want to see any money that's left on the table. And a lot of times what happens is if the billing process is set up incorrectly or inefficiently in the practice, dentists can be missing out on 2, 3, 4% of what they could be collecting from insurance on a monthly basis. And that really adds up. And so our goal is to make sure that dentists are collecting over 99% from insurance, from the patients, by making sure that those internal processes are really tight and they're provided with the expertise that they need in their practice to collect.
Awesome. Thank you for that overview.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to be a client of Elevate, which gives me a unique perspective in terms of how they function. And it's been great for our practice. I'll just say a little bit about our practice. We have, one doctor currently, and we had one front office person who was doing everything, and she's a rock star. So she was doing a great job. But as we continue to get busier and busier, she was finding it hard to make those insurance calls that can take a half an hour on hold and all those things. And so it's been such a huge relief to have that part of it taken off her plate. And like you said, really allow her to focus on the patient in front of her, the patient in the waiting room, and really elevate that patient experience from that front desk.
Right. Yeah, and there can sometimes be some reluctancy from the front office staff in letting go of this aspect of the practice. And really what we encourage them to see is that when they work with Elevate, they're not really handing off a function in their practice. They're just more using someone who has these skills and expertise to do it really well for them, and to support them and support them in their success in their role. What drives our success at Elevate and what makes us unique is the expertise of our staff members. All of Elevate's dental billing specialists have at least 10 years of dental billing experience and knowledge and background. And so when they're working in your software, there's no training required whatsoever. They pick up from day one. They're able to go in there and look for ways that you can either improve your current billing process or really just be that trusted partner for your front office staff like yours, so that she knows that she can fully rely on us to do the job and get it done well.
Yeah. And all of the patient correspondence is still handled through the front. So let's say there's a denial and the patient needs to be informed, like, hey, your crown wasn't covered for whatever reason, or you thought that was on your policy, but it's not. That call still comes from our front office. So from the patient perspective, they don't lose any of that personal touch from your practice. It's just that you're doing a lot of the legwork to get
Exactly.
that communication going.
Yeah, and we try to be really explicit about why an insurance payment came back the way it did. So if it didn't receive full reimbursement, or if there's a supplemental need for the insurance company for the insurance payment to get paid, and so it's delayed, try to be very explicit about what that reason is, so that if there is ever a question from the patient, that information is readily available for your front office staff.
Yeah, I really think this is huge too for doctors when they're hiring front office staff, because I know in our practice, for example, when we hired our front office person, she had no billing experience. She was working in another dental office, but she was doing all scheduling. So when she came on with us 5 years ago, I actually personally trained her in dental billing, and I trained myself. So, I mean, the things I was doing probably weren't, as efficient, or, ways I was doing it, or things I was missing that you guys have caught. Certainly I wasn't an expert, but I had trained her. So as doctors are turning people over, in their practice, or they're needing to hire new people, they can find somebody that maybe has the right soft skills or other things that they really need to help their practice shine and be amazing, without having to worry about that experience in dental billing. Because I waited for 6 months to even have her touch dental billing, because it's a huge part of the learning curve in that front office team. So taking that off the plate really expands those hiring opportunities.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a whirlwind of difference between someone who knows a little bit about dental billing and someone who's fully experienced in it. It's almost like the bookkeeping function in your office. You wouldn't necessarily hire an inexperienced staff member to come in and just start handling your books and your financials. Well, insurance billing is the same thing. If you bring someone in who doesn't know what they're doing, there can just be so much disaster caused in a short period of time that will bring you financial havoc for the next 6 to 12 months. So getting that consistent source of expertise in your practice to manage the process is essential, whether that's an internal billing person who is a great rock star and can handle it for you, or using a company like ours, and it allows you to really shuffle through other candidates who you might not have formally previously considered for the role. Additionally, it allows the doctor to really have a more leverage when looking at what he's willing to pay his front staff. Because for that jack of all trades person who has 20 plus years of dental billing experience and is a great salesperson at the front as well, they're going to come with a really high price. You're going to decrease your overhead and make sure that you're producing as much profit in your practice as possible. This opens up the opportunity for you to really look at someone who's just going to be great salesperson up front, great at presenting treatment plans and patient recall, and not so much on the billing or business administrative side.
No, for sure. And I don't know if you want me to even advertise the other things that you guys can do, but we just worked together with a mutual client that, the whole front office left at the same time. And so we kind of got left with a team that didn't know Dentrix at all. So you guys helped with Dentrix training, which was amazing, as well as, just like little things that we didn't have time for in the shuffle of just trying to keep all the plates spinning. Like, can you just add in these, insurance on these new patients, or their policy just changed? Can you just add this in there quick for us? Or, the office isn't set up with any electronic fund transfers. Can you guys handle that? You guys are able to really service an office in a lot of different ways. Maybe you want to speak to some of that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said to just the little things when it comes to making sure that fee schedules are set up properly in your software, that your front office knows how to really fully utilize the software. And so if your practice is ever dealing with either maybe a training curve that needs to be overcome, or just not having insurance set up properly, we can definitely help out with that to make sure that foundationally, even if you don't use our service on an ongoing basis, you have those things set up in your practice for success so that your front office can do a great job for you. Because without that knowledge, there's just no way of knowing whether or not your front office is going to be able to really do their best for your practice and make sure that it comes down to really, are you getting fully reimbursed for the services you're providing?
Yeah. So Leanna, what would you say is one of the most common mistakes that you see in dental billing?
The biggest one we see is lack of accountability, really. Lack of accountability of front office staff. We get it really runs the gamut as far as what we see. We have practices who come to us who have had someone up front 6 years doing the billing process, and we realize a practitioner wasn't credentialed properly. So they'd been billing out under the wrong information for the past 6 years, and so they weren't receiving full reimbursement on those procedures. We've had cases where payments were coming into the practice, and the front office staff was kind of sporadically posting. Maybe some days she would, some days she wouldn't. And so there was a lot of accounts that weren't up to date with patient balances, who weren't billed for what they should have been billed, or how to credit that they should have been owed. So really accountability is huge. And I think we provide that in a way because we're not only accountable for our staff members to do a really good job for our practices, but for our practices too. We're providing you with monthly reports that really go through what we're doing on a financial level for your practice. And we keep track internally here of our billing specialists on what they're posting each day for your practice, what they're calling on for your outstanding AR. There's a high level of just oversight over the whole process to make sure that the ball is not being dropped.
Yeah, wow.
Thing. Yeah.
I had asked you guys, I think a couple months ago, I wanted to, because we meet every month to talk about, how much they collected and what claims are still outstanding and everything. And I had said, I kind of want to know how much time you guys are spending on the phone with insurance, because that is my least favorite thing to do. And it's just such a drag and waste of time and frustrating. Sometimes you get transferred or you're on hold for half an hour and then the call gets dropped on their end and you're like, no. So I like to hear, you guys have been saying like, oh, it's like 8 to 10 hours every month. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. That I didn't even have to feel that. So
yeah. And the advantage that we have too is being able to fully dedicate that time.
Yeah.
Frustrating when you have to call an insurance claim, but you also have a patient in front of you and a lot of other things to do in the practice. And so you just can't do it. And so we have the time that we can fully dedicate to making sure that all of those claims are thoroughly followed up on. And then additionally, we're able to batch those calls too. So if we have multiple claims for your practice, we can let the representative know on the front end, hey, just so you know, I'm going to have 5 claims to go through with you right now. And then if we need to be transferred to someone else, then we can just go ahead and continue to do that and stay on the phone and really knock those all out. Where in the practice, you just don't have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Leanna, for explaining all the ways that you guys can be helpful to dentists. And I think it's a huge value to any practice that wants to look at being more accountable or just, utilizing their front team in a better way. I think it's a great option. So if anyone that's listening would like to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you can visit our website. It's www.elevatebillingsolutions.com. Or you can just send me an email. My email is Leanna, Leanna @elevatebillingsolutions.com, and email me directly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Leanna. You have a great rest of the day. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bye-bye.
Bye.